Hello, hi, folks. Welcome. Let's see. Do I have that? Okay. People are joining? Okay. I think we are live. Okay. Let me see if Joan is here. Who's here? Joan, are you able to join? PK, yes. What's going on? I am excited. Joan is about to join. Don't worry, we got this under control. Promise. What's going on, money? I got myself a cup of logic, tag, share, you know. Should be able to join now. Yes. Oh my goodness.
Look at me.
Yes.
Sean, literally, I got my hair out of the shower and blowing dry, and I realized I didn't rinse the conditioner out. So I
That's a,
popped back in.
that's showing off because at least you have hair.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is showing, the right out of the shower, Joan.
That's awesome. All right, I'll get started. Are you okay? You
Yeah.
ready to go? Okay.
Hey, I'm ready.
I am so glad we got StreamYard. In the
Oh,
past,
yeah.
I had difficulties. So let's get started. Hello, hi, folks. Welcome. Happy Thursday. In hopes that you squeezed more out of your day than the day squeezed out of you. I am Sean Azimi with SideGigSean.com, where I help you look, start, and grow your side business. Welcome. Today is Thursdays with Sean. I am so excited for my guest. We've been working on this schedule for a while, so I am so honored to have the one, the only Joan Robinson here. Now, if you don't know, this show, Thursdays with Sean, is this. This is probably my favorite, actually, live. What I do is you may know of my guest. You may have seen her because she's a superstar. You may have seen her speak on stages and done amazing things. You may have seen the glory, but you really don't know the story. And yeah, that's awesome.
All these
That
stories.
is awesome. So you really don't know the story. And this show is all about telling the story. So Joan, welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you on.
Oh, well, gosh. First, I just want to say again, thank you, Sean. Not only, guys, does Sean host his show and has his own network marketing business, but he also is part of a team that we have within one of our businesses, and I've come to know him and love him, and he is such an amazing man. So I feel honored, Sean, to be invited on your show, and thank you for everything that you do to help people like me look good.
Thank you. So for those of my guests who don't know how amazing you are and where you come from, and just to give a little snapshot of who Joan is, and then we'll get right into it.
Yeah. Well, first off, hi, everybody out there. It's very exciting to be here. And what my hope is that I know Sean is going to be asking me some questions. And my hope is that I can give back to you and maybe just make your road a little bit easier when it comes to navigating in the network marketing channel. So a little bit about me, like Sean said, I'm Joan Robinson. I have actually been in the industry, if you can believe it, since 2001. And I like to share this, that, I was someone that was probably the least likely to say yes to an opportunity like this because I didn't really know about network marketing. I just had kind of this like vision of the Avon lady coming to my house when I was a little kid and giving my mom lipsticks. And, it didn't seem like a real job. It seemed like just kind of something that a housewife did, like, when her kids were home after school or something. I don't know. But I just didn't really know a lot about the industry. And I say that to you because I think still there's a lot of people that either have a negative kind of vision or connotation, and it's because their lack of knowledge. And I'll share a couple different things that will help you create connections, build relationships, and even educate your audience without even knowing that you're really doing it. And I think you'll find that more and more now going forward, there's just going to be tons of people that are looking to channels like this and opportunities that all of us have to offer because of needs and wants out there. So, like I said, I got started back there in 2001. Do you guys know computers weren't even around, let alone social media?
Y2K?
Right.
Yeah. Oh, no.
We did everything by hand, and
Yeah.
we also did everything either at, home parties or just belly to belly one-on-one. And I bring that up because to me, if you learned in those days, and I don't want to sound like I'm, 90 or anything, but to me, if you learned in those days, you understand that social media is an extension of those fundamentals. It's a platform and a tool that if you take what you learn around the fundamentals of sales, communication, and relationship building, and then use social media to your advantage, you're going to exponentially grow whatever it is you're trying to grow, whether it's friends, or a business. And
And I love to share your story. And that's the reason I love to showcase your story, because you come from a background that's not really traditional for a network marketer to get started. You come from the corporate background, not as I'm desperate, I need to do this, my back against the wall. And you started back in the day when social media wasn't around.
No.
In that condition, in that situation. So I love that story because so many people back in the day didn't get started because of those reasons and with those backgrounds. So I love you to share about that.
Yeah. Well, guys, I worked at Nordstrom, and I love to tell people that because I learned through growing up with an entrepreneurial family. My family owned businesses, and then immediately I went to college. And then when I got out of college, can you believe I started working at Nordstrom? And I loved the job. I loved helping people. I loved the company. And I love really what they stood for, which was service, right? It was, and they're still known to this day for service. I don't think it's quite as good as it used to be. Sorry.
I could see you at
Sorry, but I think they could step it up. But anyway,
definitely changed. Definitely changed.
What was missing though in my life was time. Nordstrom was located, the corporate offices downtown Seattle, and my last position there was there, and it took me a good hour and a half to commute back and forth on the ferry. And I had a little guy at home. He was 6 years old. And like Sean said, I wasn't really in this dire need of a job, but it was more, I was in dire need of a change because.
Love that.
Yeah, I would get home. Sean, let me tell you, I'd start reading my son a story, and I would be like that 2-page Turner mom because I was exhausted. I just want him to go to sleep. And, after a while, I just realized this doesn't really work for me. And I will tell you one other thing that I think is really pivotal to what I'm just going to say this, guys. It changed the trajectory of my life. Was I was coming home on a Washington State ferry one day, writing out that list of what I wanted my life to look like.
Oh, I like this. Okay.
Right? Okay. I did not write anything about what I didn't want. There's some clues in here, guys. So if you're taking notes, take a couple notes right around here, because this is pivotal to what I believe I created. And nobody told me about manifesting. Of course, I knew how to set some goals and put some intentions out there, but I just opened my journal up. And you know the funny thing? Look at this.
No way. No way. It's the original journal?
Not the same, no. But look, I still do the same darn thing 23 years later. All right. So what I want you guys to know, though, is I wrote things like I wanted time freedom. And then what I would do with that time freedom, spend more time with my son at the beach, pick him up from school, take him home from school, because I didn't want him to be a bus kid. I wanted him to be a car kid. I
love that.
Right. And
no bus kid, I want a car kid.
I wanted a car kid. And you know what else? I wrote things like I wanted to work with people and serve people, because I was thinking about all the things that I loved at my job at Nordstrom. By the time I got to the end of the list, the ferry had docked. And I remember kind of looking off at the sunset, and I'm going to show you guys. I just got to show you. Literally, I looked at my list that took me about 20 minutes to write. And I went like this. Well, fat chance that's probably going to happen. That was the thought in my mind. But it was a fleeting moment. Just a thought, real quick. Didn't have any weight on it. But guess what did have weight? The pages of the journal. They weren't going anywhere, guys. Those were sent off in a prayer to God. That's what I call. And it could be the universe, could be whatever you want, but it was in paper. It came from this heart to the paper, and it was a living thing. I mean, it was like on paper.
It was transferred from you to the
right, and it had meaning.
It had soul.
It had soul. Guts, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it had soul. And Sean, I have to say that I look back because it wasn't more than 2 weeks later, I was invited. That's another clue, guys. Invited. Remember, the least likely girl was invited to look at a business, and her best friend since 12 years old.
I want to take you back to that day.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I love this is one of my favorite questions from top earners. Okay, because what I want to show is the journey changes, the challenges changes, things change, but still you're part of the whole thing, right? So I want to take you back to that day, that first day you got a call, because back in the day it was meetings, right? So you had to go somewhere.
Yeah.
You had to go somewhere. So let's go back to that day. You're somebody who doesn't need this.
Yeah.
A friend of you calls you and says, what happened? How come you said yes? What happened? And one of the things I want to ask is, if you were to go back to that day, right? And then you joined, you got in, what was your number one challenge back then, that first month?
Okay, hold that thought. And I'm going to go to your first question, because the second one's good too. Really good. Okay, guys, I got this phone call, and what was going through my mind was my girlfriend's on the other end basically saying, I started with this company and they sell skincare and spa products, and I'd love to get your opinion. Now, that's a pretty darn good way to make somebody feel good about giving feedback to you about your products or services. And it's also something where in those days, the products that that she represented, she could bring them with her and let me test them out. And I don't want to discourage anybody today from still doing that, because that's powerful. And when you invest even 15 minutes, 20 minutes with people, it shows them that you care versus a text message or sending a video. And don't get me wrong, I do both of those all day long, but those don't build connection the way that it does when you're face to face, if you can be. So I just have to say that. And
great point.
Right. And so the next thing that happened was I went through this, like, well, this could be the thing. Maybe I thought I would try the products and see. And then, there were other things that made me believe, hey, this really could be the road to that freedom. But, it was obviously, this just kind of fell into my lap, if you will. And then I remembered what I wrote in the journal, and I started thinking about that. And then it got me kind of excited about the possibilities and the what ifs. So now let me fast forward to your question. I tried the products, I liked them. And then I asked her, I said, is this something that I could eventually sell, or what do you think? And she said, oh, well, would that be something you'd want to do? Because remember, guys,
the dream question.
Yeah, I was looking for a way out. I was looking for an answer, and I thought what I wanted was not possible. Because who's gonna, how am I going to create all those things when I live over on an island, in the country, basically, And I
want to point that out, because that's such an important thing. For your best friend to reach out to you, knowing your situation and everything, and you going forward with it, and then flipping the channel, right?
Yeah.
Flipping the switch. Flip the. I love that, by the way. There's going to be a lot of plugs about that.
Yeah.
Flipping the switch, and then you turning around and kind of saying, hey, wait a minute, is this something that I could turn around and work with?
Right.
That's amazing, because a lot of us prejudge, right? Exactly. And we don't reach out to that person. We're like, she got a corporate job, she's good.
Yeah. And that's key. What you're saying is, I learned that a long time ago, that, if you are sharing, enough, if you're in front of enough people, you'll begin having conversations. And don't ever, if I could give you a tip right now, is, you might think that you've got people sized up, and you might know some things, but you don't know all the things. Because remember, this was my best friend, and I wasn't unhappy. I was just thinking of possibilities, and the possibility was what got me excited about really my what could be a different way of life. So she got me, Sean, to try the products. And then ultimately she ended up inviting me to, an event, and I went to it still with very, I was skeptical, but there was more bubbling up inside me. And I guess the truth of it is, guys, I'm kind of a risky gal. I kind of just don't ever want to be the kind of gal that says, I wish I would have.
You got to follow her on social media. You'll see.
But, the truth is, it's the reason why I don't want to ever be that girl again is because I did that one time. I played it safe when I was in my young 20s, and I missed a really big opportunity. And I needed that lesson. And it taught me that why not go for what your heart says yes to, because you just never know what's on the other side. And boy, I had no idea that in less than a year, guys, everything in my journal had come to pass. Now I'm going to go back to Sean's question, that first month. So I joined, I'm in here, and let me tell you what, the first 48 hours were about the worst 48 hours of my entire career. I had more fear than anybody that I even recruit today. I did not want to do reach out calls. I did not want to make a list. I mean, hey, I worked at Nordstrom. I was used to people coming to me. And by the way, I was the manager. So I was really kind of like, this was like, what am I, beating the pavement now? What's going on? And I tried to think of all different ways I could do the business. Anybody out there ever felt like that? Oh, I could do it this way. Oh, I could do it that way. When in fact, most companies have a success plan. And when I paused and got myself back squared away, because I was all over the board with fear, right down to a sick stomach and several trips to the bathroom. But I'm going to tell you, once I got myself squared away, I did what I tell everybody today. I made a 90-day commitment to follow the company's success plan. Follow the system that works. Do not think you know better, because you don't. There is a plan in place for a reason. And you know what? What happens to most people, and Sean, you know I teach on this today, is that we get in fear. We don't want to do some of the things that are uncomfortable. And it's normal, actually, to be there because it's new to you, perhaps, or the skill is new, or you're not confident yet. But I guarantee you, with practice and just leaning into it, you will be. So
what was the hardest thing for that month?
The hardest thing for that month was having the confidence to just talk to people about the business. Because I, like many of you, had this limiting belief that I was bothering people, that I was going to offend somebody, or, and there was more fear with that. I really didn't want to hear no. I mean, honestly, I really didn't. But I also sometimes was afraid I wouldn't know what to say, so I had a lot of fear in that first month. And you want me to tell the group how I overcame it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I love that, baby. And you're not the only one who said that. The thing is, I talked to the top earners in our company, in the profession. And I asked that question, and you're not the only one who said that. Which is, I love that. That is such an eye opener for me, for anybody else, that hey, it's a normal thing. Yeah. It's a real thing. So how did you overcome it?
Yeah. Well, and I want to say one thing, I try to explain to people, like right now, Sean, if you and I had to go right now down to Starbucks, and let's say both of us never worked there. I didn't, maybe you didn't either. But if all of a sudden there was a line out the door and they said, you two are on the espresso machine, you got to make skinny vanilla lattes, we'd probably freeze. We wouldn't know what the hell to do. And we certainly wouldn't do a good job the first couple of lattes. And that's kind of my point, is that it doesn't matter if it's network marketing or if we work over at Starbucks or, whatever. If it's brand new to you, it's going to be uncomfortable before it's comfortable. So how I overcame was I broke it down. I broke down what I needed to do, which was get my first couple customers and my first couple parties. We did parties in those days. I thought all I need to do today is get one. So then I broke it down to simple. Who would have to say yes to me? And it was one of my sister-in-laws. And I needed just that bit of confidence to be able to build my confidence for the next offer. So if I could get a yes, the feeling of getting one yes and having one party on my calendar was going to be, I knew in my heart, enough to get me to make the next call, right?
Gotcha.
So
I
that's what
love
I
that.
did. I broke down those steps. Instead of having to go get 5 or 10 customers or parties or whatever you sell, get one. Let's
In
just get
small
one.
chunks.
Right.
In small chunks.
Yep. And then I worked every single day on.
Wait, what was that? You did what?
I worked every single day on perfecting the skills.
Mm.
So by the time 90 days was done, I'm going to tell you guys, I was pretty damn good at it.
I love it. Okay. So at this time, you're still at your job with your 6-year-old?
I was, yeah, yeah.
Let's
So
talk about that a little bit.
yeah. So I will tell you, if there's anybody here that is just starting or you're restarting, in order to make 6 figures, you got to go on an all-out run. If you want to make, I'm gonna just tell you what my kind of recipe would be, my blueprint, if you will. If somebody comes to me and says, I want to make 6 figures in network marketing, I say, okay, let's buckle up, and this year you'll make it. This year, it'll take you a year if you do really everything that you need to do and all the learning and all that alongside your full-time other job. Now,
Wow.
do some people make it sooner? Sure. Do some people take longer? Sure. But that's just about an average. And I can pretty much guarantee, no matter what company, if you're just starting out, that's what it's going to take. Now, that's not if you already have a presence, nothing like that. I'm talking about you're brand new and you really want to commit. But here's the deal. You got to commit. And that's what I did. So I had
What
my
does that translate to?
Yeah. So there's a 7-day work week, right? And I broke it down again. This might sound familiar into, here's month 1, then here's week 1, 2, 3, 4, then here's day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I knew what I was going to accomplish each day. So today, people often have DMOs and they have checklists, and those are wonderful. If you're doing the right activity, keep doing it. Boy, keep doing it. You're planting seeds, and pretty soon they start popping, right? But in those days, it was all about the party, right? So I did 2 to 3 parties a week for the first year of my business. And you know what? Again, I had to trick my brain, guys, because if you were going to tell me I was going to work a second job for even a year or 6 months, to me, I would have went like, oh my gosh, that seems like really exhausting. But I knew that I was digging my heels in order to build something that would eventually, this wouldn't be my lifestyle, 2 jobs, right? So I did those 2 to 3 parties per week for the next year. And by the time that year was done, I was making 6 figures. So I was able at 6 months to go part-time at Nordstrom. And then I was able to ultimately leave. And I remember having a chat with my parents, and I tell my mom, well, I'm a little bit nervous. And she said, you know what? Always leave it. So if you ever need to go back, the door would be open. Leave it better, Joan, than how you found it. And I was able to do that.
And that's amazing because back in the day, there was no social media. Babysitting wasn't as convenient as
No.
today. I'm sure there was a lot of stuff that popped up, obstacles, speed bumps, red flags came up. And I love how you've kept going and kept going, and
Oh,
with a full-time job, single mom, with a 6-year-old, doing meetings, 3 parties, which means you getting in the car, packing up the car, going to locations. I'm bringing up those days. which
Yeah.
is which is amazing, because now the profession is just kind of changed, and that's with everything. Like, I was in the mortgage industry for 19 years.
You know,
Obviously, we don't drive to the person's house and sign papers anymore. It's just
right.
boom, right? I mean, everything's changed. So I love that. So now we come. I mean, you are a multi six figure, seven figure earner in the industry. Sorry, seven figure earner in the industry. You're an author. You're a coach. You're a superstar.
Oh,
So
yeah.
how do you juggle all that nowadays?
Well, I mean, look, sometimes you leave people in your hair.
Nobody can tell.
Yeah,
Nobody
well, it's out. It's out. I have clean head, just wet head. But no, it's interesting. I want to make sure I say this because to me, this is so, um, it's so important. I was so blessed to really understand the value of following what I wanted. So, in other words, if I wanted to make six figures, I found out what people with who are making six figures do. If I wanted to get, to be a master at recruiting, then I entered into the masters, recruiting, and my first, educating myself with personal development was with Jim Rohn way back in the day. So, you know, um, balancing it was not easy, but it's possible. And the part that I started to say, I got off track a minute, but about the important part is that it needs to be right for you, because there
Mm,
really isn't any balance. I don't care what anybody says. Balance is kind of a illusion. And what I want all of you to know is that there is elbow grease and your knees are going to get skinned up, because you're building something. And when you're building something, people tend to think in words like I failed. No, you
mm,
didn't. You're never going to fail. You're practicing every single day, getting better
mm,
at the skills. So, you know, I just love what I do. I love helping people. I love investing in people. I love seeing the results of helping people overcome things, that I have, and more. And gosh, I probably work more than a lot of people probably do because I love so much what I do. But um, the last thing I'll say is that when you take good care of you, only then can you take good care of others. And I've
mm.
managed to really do that as well, Sean.
Stay healthy.
Yeah. Eat healthy, stay healthy, exercise, and, for me, prayer and meditation and all those things.
I
Yeah.
love that. So there's got to be okay. This is a journey, right? It's been years. So there's got to be at least a time. Take us back to the first time
Okay.
that you said, you may have said, because you didn't say, you
Yeah.
may have said, "Oh my goodness, this
Yeah.
I'm gonna just bang my head against the wall and just move to the
Bimini.
mountains and live in the caves.
Right.
This is not for me. I'm done."
Hmm.
Was there a time, early times,
Yeah.
that you had something like that I can see you remember it? It just kind
Yeah.
of.
Well, I want you guys to know that in that first year, I probably quit once a week. I mean, seriously. Oh, yeah.
Really?
Because, oh, for sure. I mean, I would get frustrated. I'd drive away wondering, like, wow, that party was, $100. I mean, I had no shows. I did all the host coaching and all the follow up, I thought correct. And then there'd be other times, could be even the next day or two, where I'd drive home and I go, wow, $500 wasn't so bad now, was it? And then I get back excited. And what I learned is I was letting the journey start dictating my happiness. Meaning,
Mm,
if if I thought it was a good thing, then I was up here. And if I thought it was, something that was kind of sucky, I was down here. And I started realizing that the journey is the path, and the journey is what we need to begin enjoying. Because all of the things that I was perceiving in the early days as challenges were really only strengthening me to be better at my craft. And I would say that to everybody out here. If you don't want to quit, then it's because you've had huge success and you haven't bumped up against any challenges lately. Because when you're new and you don't have a lot of time under your belt, it's easier to quit than it is to stay in the game. That's the truth. But that's the part that builds the person and builds their skill set. So I'm glad I stayed.
Yes. So I take it that when those days came up, you would just go back to your notes. That's what I'm thinking. Am I correct?
I think you're not only correct, you know what you're doing. Yeah, you guys, that's why you have.
For you, those notes were like everything.
These are like my magic, right? This is like it, because we have to always remember why we started in the first place. Every person signs an agreement, even if it's digital, with a level or a measure of success that they want, whatever that is. And when we don't get what we want, when we think we want it, we get a little frustrated.
That's true.
But it's available to all of us. And Sean, I'm sure in your interviews, there are a lot of things that successful people, have in common. And I'm sure one of them is they didn't give up when it got hard, or they took a moment in time and said, I'll give up for the rest of today, but I'm back at it tomorrow.
And it's so amazing to me how each one of you reach out to certain things for that moment to pull yourself back out.
Yeah.
That I love that, because everybody does it very differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love how you are so committed to your notes, because here's one thing I can share with you. You can write down a note and to not forget something, but then you forget about the note you wrote not to forget about. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, I forgot that I wrote that note not to forget. But so I love how committed you are to those notes. It's like your scrolls.
It's like, yeah. Well, I did tell that same best friend that invited me to the business that if I die before her, she better come get my journals.
My question to you is she still in the business?
She is. Yeah.
Wow.
She is. And she is in the consulting world now. And we're still best friends. So
that's amazing.
Since we were 12 years old, can you imagine?
Yeah. So let's say now things have changed. Obviously, it's not 2001 anymore. Let's say you're in your yoga class, because you're a yoga gal.
Yeah.
Did I say yogi?
Yeah, well, yoga gal. I'm all the same.
That's how much I know about yoga. Embarrassing moment.
Yeah.
But let's say you're there and you run into somebody who the conversation starts and takes you to network marketing, direct sales. What do you do? How do I do this and that? And they are so skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
They're like so negative, Nancy, right? Yeah. And they don't know who you are. They don't know your background. So what would you say to somebody like that? And maybe you'd never see them again.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, I'm curious. I'm naturally curious. And I've also learned to be curious and interested in people. So, I've never been a person that wants to be talked into anything. So I don't want to be a person that tries to talk somebody into something or telling them why they should think different. But one of the things that I do is, I might say, gosh, tell me a little bit more about what makes you feel that way. So asking those open-ended questions.
That's so amazing. Everybody asked. That's so amazing. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Two other
So,
people said the same thing.
oh, did they? Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, just, seek
I
to
love that.
understand. Seek to understand where they're at, because you never know. I mean, that person you may never see again, like Sean said, or they could become your next leader. Being interested in people truly and genuinely will, that's what life's all about, is relationships. So, you know, look at people as, look at your conversations with people as investments. And what I mean by that is it's an investment for you, meaning you're learning about people, you're learning how to understand people and be in relationship. And it doesn't necessarily ever have to be a business thing, but you get good at knowing people.
That
So
is very true.
yeah, ask questions.
And so you have become an author.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You've written. What I want to talk about that. What made you write the book? And then
And the
these. I mean,
cards.
come on,
Don't
like,
you
these
love the
cards
cards?
are so amazing. I
Yeah.
pull one every day. You
Ah,
guys, she
me
has
too.
these. I do. I love these. She has these cards.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm going to let you speak
Oh,
about these, but
well, I'll just tell you in a nutshell, guys. We were during that, we're just coming out of COVID, and I recognized that so many of my coaching clients and team members were in fear. And I was in prayer one morning, and I really felt that God nudged me to write a book to help more people get out of fear. And I'm sure I could have wrote a book just on fear, but then as it kind of started unfolding, it turned into a book that was more the blueprint of my road in network marketing. So the first part of the book starts out talking about going to work on yourself. So it talks about what are things you need to clean up, what are some of the mindsets that you have, and what is mindset. And then each chapter has a workbook portion at the end asking you questions, helping you break through certain things about that chapter. And there's a fear chapter, and then there's stuff on how to work with others around communication, sales skills, leadership, etc. The second half. And I talk a lot about flipping the switch, and that's the title of the book. And that's part of the whole reason why I wrote it, is to really help people get out of fear, to flip the switch, to turn the light on and come into the light, because fear makes your world so small and it becomes self-consuming and dark. And that's no way to live. And not only that, but fear is the destroyer of dreams. It's a dream killer. And that's why I believe many people don't ever get what they want, because they allow fear to stop them in their tracks. And I knew how to get out of fear. So I felt like God was saying, you better teach them how to do it.
I love it. And the website or
Oh,
the
yeah.
yeah,
So it's joanrobinson.com, and then it's /shop. Yeah.
Joan
And
Robin.
while you're putting that in, I'll tell you guys about the cards. The cards that Sean is holding up are called the Ignite Your Light cards. And the
It's
reason
called joanrobinson.com /
it's ROBISON,
correct.
Robison.com /shop. Yeah.
Shop. Got it.
Yep. So guys, the Ignite the Light cards that Sean is talking about was just a really great way to help people flip the switch, right?
I love this book.
in just 60 seconds a day. So, you could draw a card, you could shuffle them and draw a card, and
I'm
then,
gonna draw one today.
it helps you get out of a funk really quickly. So we should end there, right, Sean? Sometimes the best thing to do is pause and check in with yourself. Yeah.
I
So
love
that whole, so guys, it just kind of gives you a different, fresh perspective. But again, the whole goal of the book and the cards are to help people with that mindset, to strengthen their mindset and give them tools. So I don't just tell you need to get out of fear. I actually show you in the book through steps and whatnot and tools how to do it.
Wonderful. It's wonderful. I
Ah.
absolutely love it. We'll end it with this question. I'll give you one last thing, and
Okay.
I could talk to you forever.
Listen, I'm going on and on. You're probably like,
I can't believe it's been 45 minutes already.
I know.
I thought it was not that long. But if you were to leave the audience with a thought, and I love this because I always kind of feel like you want to leave a thought knowing that they're not going to see you again. Like you're not going to have a chance to come back and do another presentation, right? So if you were to leave the audience now, I have a lot of single moms that get on my lives and watch my lives. I also have a lot of entrepreneurs. I also have a lot of professionals who I'm trying to get into entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Let's just call it what it is.
Right.
But if you were to leave the audience, a mix of audience with a couple of thoughts from somebody who comes from a corporate world into, you're not even thinking corporate anymore, because I come from 23 years in corporate. So I know the corporate world. Somebody who comes from the corporate world, not really looking for an opportunity to really like blast her life off. But then she goes on, becomes a multi 7-figure earner, runs multi teams internationally, becomes an successful author. Like literally people in the profession know who you are. So lasting thoughts for the audience.
Well, this might surprise you because the last thought that I would want to give you, I think, is the most important question that anybody can ask themselves. And it's, what do you want? What do you want? Because I believe that the majority of people, when asked that question, really can't answer it because they've never really given themselves the time to sit down and really think about, what do you want? And it's almost something that you can think about often, because if you can figure out what it is that you want, the path to get there isn't always clear, but I guarantee you'll get there, whatever that want is. And it doesn't have to be big things either. It doesn't have to be life-changing. But that question, what do you want, is the most important question that most people don't ask themselves. And I believe it's the one that they miss.
I love that. Thank you so much, Joan. I really appreciate you. You are amazing. I appreciate you. We're going to go back and get back to the comments and respond. I appreciate everybody. If you feel like this was worthy of sharing, do what you got to do. Spread the love. Tag a couple of people. Yes. And with that, I am Sean Azimi with SideGigSean.com, where I help you look, start, and grow your side business. Joan, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Tomorrow.
Okay. Bye, sweetie.
Bye.